Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the IoT For All Podcast. I'm Ryan Chacon, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the fourth industrial revolution and the IoT landscape and changes we may see in 2023. With me today will be Philippe Cases, the CEO and co-founder of Topio Networks, and they are an industry research platform that focuses on all facets of digital transformation. Before we get into this episode, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and hit that bell icon so you get the latest episodes as soon as they are out. Other than that, let's get on to the episode. Welcome, Philippe, to the IoT For All podcast. Thanks for being here this week.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to yourself and your audience today.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm super excited to have you here. I know our audience is going to get a ton of value out of this. Let's kick this off by having you give a quick introduction about yourself and Topio for our audience.
Awesome. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Topio Networks. For those who don't know Topio, we're an industry catalyst focused on this next evolution of digital transformation. We call it the age of autonomy. Gartner speaks about hyper automation. I'm sure we will clarify those terms later during the podcast, but those are where we're focusing on. On my side, I'm in the latter part of my career. I started in the 80s building a group focused on data science and artificial intelligence for a bank in France, and then moved on to become a venture capitalist for more than 30 years.
Wow.
I started my career as a venture capitalist in Europe in the 90s and then moved to Silicon Valley in 1994, right at the time where the internet was starting. So I've been blessed to see the internet growing, the emergence of cloud computing and SaaS, and then the mobile application platform, and now IoT. So I've seen a lot of
Yep.
those digital transformation happening, and I'm really humbled, right, to have seen all those trend happening in Silicon Valley and having me be part of it. I'm also very excited by this huge new one that is coming up. I talk about a tsunami
Yeah.
because it's going to transform our society. It's going to productize services, so provide an additional layer of productivity, and it's
Sure.
going to free ourselves for more creative and executive work. And so my daily work, right, consists of providing advisory services to companies in helping them transform themselves. We do education, so we have the Topio Networks Academy, and we're
Mm-hmm.
running two large-scale events. One is Edge Computing World, and the other is Intelligent Infrastructure. And all in
Okay.
all, we have now a community of about 1.2 million people.
That's fantastic. That's
Thank you
awesome.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I wanted to actually refer to something that you spoke about, I believe, or you wrote about, talking about the fourth industrial revolution and interoperability of artificial intelligence and humans. Can you kind of talk a little bit about kind of what that means for our audience?
Yeah. So yeah, we call this new phase the age of autonomy, right? And so if you think about it, the last 20 years has been about connecting human, first with their PC, and then make them mobile through their smartphones. And then in this new age, we are now connecting devices with IoT, and we are also making them intelligent. And so now we have robots, autonomous products that are coming up to play, and then by adding camera and sensors in entire spaces, we can make now the physical spaces becoming intelligent as well. So you can have an intelligent store, an intelligent factory, an intelligent city. And if you think about it now, we are gonna be able to have robots, an autonomous device working with augmented human in intelligent spaces,
Right.
collaborating, doing stuff, right? And in the same way, electronic trade platform talk to each other at sub-millisecond transaction in the financial services industry. We're going to be able to do the same thing in the real world, right? So intelligent objects, robot operating at the speed, almost real time, communicating with intelligent space, cloud-based system in real
Right.
time, and that's going to improve productivity and provide more agility and resiliency in companies while being sustainable, believe it or not.
Totally agree. Yeah, that's fantastic. Appreciate you kind of elaborating on that. And then, as it relates to the IoT industry and kind of the current landscape we have now, what do you see changing the most in 2023, and what factors are really kind of contributing to that change?
Well, so if you think about it, right? So if you think about it, there are many technology at plays in the age of autonomy, right? So IoT is going to collect data in real time, and then also send insights about what to do to those objects or to the space. H2 cloud is going to enable a cost-effective and sustainable
Hmm.
and low latency processing. You're going to have digital twins, AI simulations, blockchain. All those
Right.
technologies are going to be at play. And so, if you think about specifically IoT, right? IoT is playing a major. It's a major layer of that new infrastructure, and on a macro basis, more devices are becoming connected, and those devices are becoming smarter. They
Hmm.
are also becoming cheaper and more sustainable with technologies, emerging technologies like ambient IoT. I don't know if you've covered that in your
Sure.
podcast, but I think it's an interesting trend to look at, and that is emerging now.
Yep.
Then, if you're thinking about where we are, right? So, as we discussed, right, we need to connect. We need to create intelligent space. We need to connect the device and make them smarter. We need to connect with the cloud, and then we need to with the platforms into those intelligent spaces. And if you think about it, right, the use case have emerged now to create intelligent and connected space, such as factories, stores,
Hmm.
hospitals, and this vision is not far away, right? Like, for instance, Kroger today partners with NVIDIA to optimize the efficiency of their store through the use of digital twins that are updated in real time with
Right.
customer data moving in the store.
Sure.
Amazon, in same thing, is now automating their entire warehouse and creating a same day delivery approach while keep while being at zero carbon emission. So all of those are coming are intelligent spaces, intelligent stores. So those are happening, right? So we need sensors, we need IoT, and IoT is
Right.
being implemented there. Where there is less of growth at this point, and we're not seeing the use case yet, but they are going to come for sure as virtualization technology on device are taking hold, and tiny ML is also taking hold, is on the intelligent objects, right? So
Okay.
it's happening, but it's not happening as fast as the intelligent spaces.
No, that's great. Yeah, it's a very interesting kind of outlook to focus on. I mean, with IoT and AI and just lots of different things that are happening across industries, IoT is going to play a pretty prominent role. And I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
the growth of, or the maturity of the technology, the cost coming down, uh, the new use cases and kind of successes companies are seeing in this space is going to contribute to more adoption, and all of that data is just going to enable so much more for organizations to kind of be able to do, and industries to be able to do. So
Yeah, I
it's a
mean,
very
I think the biggie. Sorry to interrupt you, Ryan.
no,
I
you're
think
fine.
the biggie there is really about people understanding that it's a new paradigm shift, and that
Sure.
they need to start to think through things a little bit differently. Think about Amazon, right? So Amazon is saying we are going to do same day delivery with zero carbon footprint. That's kind
Hmm.
of their mantra. And when they do that, right, they look at everything, and they look at, maybe instead of just looking at implementing one use case, they implement 10, 15, 20 use case. And
Right.
so they are looking at it very differently. And I think right now, a lot of companies are shortchanging themselves by just focusing on one use case instead of really focusing on what do we want to do different, and
Yep.
how are we going to use technology such as autonomy to actually make that happen.
Absolutely. No, I could agree more. So let me ask you, when it comes to kind of, we talked about IoT as a whole in 2023, but when it comes to like data spaces, digital twins, data sovereignty, those kinds of areas, what are your like thoughts on around, like, or your vision for kind of those areas going forward?
Yeah, so those areas are happening as we speak, right? Because people have started to understand that their enterprise cannot work in a vacuum. They are working across. They have ecosystems. They are working in industry, and they know that now they are going to share. They need to share data with those partners, and from for logistics, for supply chain logistics standpoint, for visibility, there are many reasons why they are doing that. And for the age of autonomy, it's going to be very important to be able to do that, because we are going to have to uh, uh, share data in real time to make our robot works with other robots coming from our partners that are operating in the same space. So it's very important to be able to do that, and it's happening today. So if you think
Yep.
about the two things that people are talking about. So one is data space. So a
Yep.
data space is a space that is basically shared by an entire industry, and the industry starts sharing, provides the information in that space, and then
Mm.
people other people from that industry who need to use that data will come there, and
Yep.
so there is a notion of security, of course. There is a notion of understanding who the person who is going to use the data is. So
Right.
it's a concept of trustworthiness, right? Or so people are going to be ranked, and you're going to say this guy, knows how to use the data, and so
Yep.
you're going to
Yep.
be much more comfortable to share that data. So those are called data space, and it's happening now with there are foundation like Gaia X in Europe, and they
Mm.
have about 8,000 individual contributors, about 500 companies that are building those data spaces in
Right.
automotive, in everywhere. And then uh, uh, and then those data space need to be sovereign, right? So you need to be able to know who the people you're working with are. You need to be able to
Yep.
provide them with the right data.
Agreed.
You need to tell them the data need to be updated in a certain way. And right now there is a lot of work to be done, because I mean, companies don't know how to trust their data. So that's
Sure.
kind of the data space, data sovereignty. And then the other thing you mentioned is digital twin, which is a little bit different.
Yep.
uh, and it's going to leverage the data space, because each company is going to want to start to build a digital twin of everything, a digital twin of their product, a digital twin of their space. And by the way, Ryan, a digital twin, you probably know that, and your audience knows that, but it's a replica of what's happening, of a real-time object that is updated in real time, right? So
Sure.
think about, I mean, the way I like to think about them is like a map that, if you like games, right? Video games, video games
Right.
are running on maps that are running in real time. It's
Yep.
the same thing here. It's like you're building those maps that are now going to be able to be leveraged by your data teams through simulations, through AI,
Yep.
and
Yep.
running games in AR, like Player One, or
Right.
in
Right.
VR, right? So you're going to be able to do that. I mean, it's already happening, and you're going to be able to do that more and more in your real life,
Sure.
working in companies.
Oh, I totally agree. I think it's very interesting to kind of think about how data spaces are going to be used, and then to your point about being able to trust the data, and then obviously digital twins, like you said, is a little bit different. But the digital twins and the simulation elements are very are have a huge area to play value in, and they have for a number of years. But as companies are able to understand how to utilize digital twins, and when it comes to solutions, I think it's very exciting space to
Well,
kind
I
of pay
mean,
attention to.
it's a new. If you think about it, it's a new paradigm of application development.
Absolutely.
Today, what people are thinking about, like Gartner talks about hyper automation, but they are very focused on, developing applications the same way it has always been done. But there is another type of applications that are going to be built that are fundamentally games, and those applications are gonna have the economics of games and need to be thought through as games. It's gonna be, so you're gonna see like games like that emerging in companies, spending 10, 20, $30 million to develop games that their workers are gonna use.
Totally agree. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, kind of as it relates to the sustainability side of
Yes.
IoT, right? Like we have, tons of connected devices in the, millions of billions, eventually trillions of connected devices. more data is being processed every year going forward. Energy consumption is going up. How does sustainability really fit into this picture of the growth that we're projecting?
Yes, at the, if you look at the different technologies that are at play, whether you look at AI, IoT, and device, as you said, trillions of 100x more device than there was before.
Right.
The amount of data being processed that is going to be 100 to 200x more. It's fairly clear that the age of autonomy, if we're not managing it, is going to increase significantly power consumption and carbon footprint. Now, if you look at what happened with the cloud, we have seen the same amount, not at the same scale, but we've seen the same amount of increase in terms of processing and data processing and the like, and yet the energy consumption of the industry only increased by 10%. So
Sure.
you can manage that, but in order to manage it, you need to put in place infrastructure that is going to enable you to track very granularly what's happening on an hourly basis. If you look at the hyperscaler now, people like Google or Amazon, they are tracking their
Right.
carbon footprint and energy consumption on an hourly basis. So
Right.
if you can if you can think about as your first use case for your edge computing device, your edge computing framework, if you can start thinking about sustainability being that, you can start tracking those everything that is happening at the edge, and start understanding what you need to do in order to have less carbon footprint. And at the end of the day, I would think that for edge computing is a killer app for sustainability because, as you said, it's going to process a lot more, and so we need to be able to track it. And and sustainability is a killer app for edge because we need edge computing to track in real time what's happening. And I would
Hmm.
say that for me, one of the things that I tell companies when we talk about it is that today we are not talking about carbon footprint and sustainability when we look at
Right.
evaluating projects, and we need to we need to think about features, we need to think
Hmm.
about ROI, we need to think about latency, we need to
Right.
think about data sovereignty. But one criteria should be sustainability. We need to develop applications that are going to be carbon footprint at least neutral, if not negative.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing to follow, mainly because it's not a situation we've really been in with the growth of an industry like this when it comes to the devices that are going to be out in the world. And the devices, not only does device number grow, but the types of devices grow, the use
Yes.
cases, the applications, the environments, everywhere these are going to be deployed is changing and growing. And being able to kind of handle the sustainability side of things and keeping that in mind as the industry grows is going to be something that's very important and going to be something that I know a lot of people are paying attention to.
And they have to, right? But they need to put in
Yep.
place the infrastructure in order to do that. And right now, the last 20 years, they've been relying on the hyperscaler to
Yep.
do that for
Yep.
them in the cloud. But now they have to do it. They have to do it within their own premise, and so they have
Sure.
to equip themselves to
Sure.
make that happen.
Totally agree. So I have two quick questions I want to ask you before I let you go here.
Yes.
The first is around we talked about the landscape in IoT and kind of factors that are kind of influencing it. But let me ask you, what are you most excited about kind of throughout the rest of 2023 into next year? Is there anything that's kind of really catching your attention as far as things you're most looking forward to happening in the industry?
Well, I think we are. I'm tracking uh, at our at Edge Computing World in November. We're going to have an entire segment of the conference dedicated to intelligent objects.
Okay.
Intelligent objects is something that we really want to accelerate because we need to have those intelligent objects, and people need to understand that they have now those resources, right? That are in the field, that they can capture data from what happening
Mm-hmm.
for their projects, for their product in the
Right.
field, and then start helping customers do better, interesting stuff, coming up with new products. So I'm fairly excited about pushing that agenda, and I'm
Okay.
looking forward to see more intelligent spaces being built,
Yep.
especially intelligent infrastructure, smart cities.
Yep.
We have this, 2.1 trillion dollar, um, $2.1 trillion uh, bill coming from the federal
Right.
government that we have to spend, and I would love for it to be spent on digital infrastructure. So
Yeah. Sure.
not fixing some things from the old, but like really preparing the U.S. economy and the U.S.
Right.
infrastructure for the year to come.
Yeah. Absolutely. On the Topio side, what do you all focus on for the rest of the year? Like, what's big priorities, things that people should
So
be
so
looking out for?
So the big priority is our second cohort for the Tokyo Academy, which begins May
Okay.
28th. So we're gonna cover everything that we've talked about, right? So we're gonna cover
Oh, great.
that in during a 2 month program, and that starts on May 28th. And then we have the Intelligent Infrastructure Conference, which is very focused on smart city and utilities in Austin, Texas, on June 6th and 7th, and then Edge Computing World, and
Yep.
also working with you guys to really make that new industry a success. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a lot of work to do.
Fantastic.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it totally does. Aside from Edge Computing World, are you going to any other events this year or speaking at any
Yeah,
events?
yeah, yeah. So I'm not gonna be at Mobile World Congress, but
Okay.
I'm gonna be at the Smart City conference in Colorado. I'm gonna be at the Sync conference. I mean, yeah, I'm attending conference almost every month. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that'll be fun. I know I'm going to try to attend as many as I can as well. But last thing I want to do is for our audience out there who wants to follow up on this conversation, learn more about Topio and what you all have going on, stay in touch, that kind of thing. What's the best way they can do that?
Well, I mean, they can reach me, right? So Philippe.cases at topionetworks.com, which is one way to reach out to me. They can go and register on the website, topionetworks.com. We kind of do stuff. They can subscribe to our newsletters as well. Yeah, and reach out if they want to participate to the academy. It's really where the academy, the industry come together to
Yep.
think about things and fix things. So that's one way to do it as well.
Fantastic. Well, Philippe, thank you so much again for taking the time. Fantastic conversation. I know our audience is going to get a ton of value out of this. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for having me. It's always fun to discuss those type of topics.